This is what we all feel, let's just not deny it. Something pulls and it tears in the deepest place. This is what we all know, why must we still fight it? It's time to open our eyes and acknowledge the writing on the wall.
Hey guys, Jay Young with Young Red Angus. In today's video, we're going to show you how to make 3 different types of Johnson Sioux bioreactors. We've been at this since 2020. It's June of 2022, so we're 3 months into the 3rd year of making bioreactors. So we'll kind of cover the methods we're using for this summer and what we've learned and how to build them. So here we go. Okay, so here's one of the original shells that we had. And I went ahead and kept the original shell, but I put a new bottom. This is what our new bottoms are going to look like, and I'll discuss how to make those here in a second. So here's one of the old bottoms and what they looked like. So I made this bottom after we had some go anaerobic to try to get more holes and airflow through there, and that's why I added the extra holes. But really what the problem was is this type of weed barrier mat doesn't breathe well enough, doesn't get enough air, and like it would get stuff stuck even in there, and even with the holes in that, it would collect on there and that water would get stagnant and anaerobic here on the bottom of these. So we stopped using the weed barrier mat on the bottoms, and we just drilled those holes like on the other ones I showed you. First one, we'll call this the stack style. So the stack style is made by taking a shell of a chemical tote like that. Some of them call them IBC totes. A lot of these carry different types of glyphosate or chemicals or whatever. But we'll take that shell and we'll cut off the middle part right that you see right in there. We'll cut out those middle bars so you have a section there and a section there. And then what we'll do is we'll take those sections and we'll line them with weed barrier mat like these, and then we place them on top of the frame from the bottom of the tote. And so we're not using those wood pallet floors anymore. And so we'll take that shell and then we drill holes in it like this. So once you're done drilling those holes in the floor, you screw this section back in like this, and then you start stacking those on top of one another. So this is how we make those shells. This is the process. So I take an air chisel like this and I perforate a bunch of holes in the bottom of that metal on the bottom of the IBC tote. But we saved the screws out of here, and we put the screws back in on each section here and screw that back into the metal pallet. We cut the sign part of it out to cover up this gap that's there from the bladder, so that's gonna fit down right in there. And then we drew holes from where we're going to put our PVC pipe. For this next process, I don't have help, so I'm going to utilize some electrical tape, and then we're also going to use this measuring tape that I can bend and bring around here. So this is how we're going to do it. So here we are at the end. Looks like it's 13 feet 10 inches that we got cut off on the weed barrier mat. Here we are, 13 feet 10 inches. Okay, my gaps on this weed barrier mat is 2 feet here. So I'm just gonna cut them right along that line there. So I've got 3 separate pieces to line our bioreactors with. Okay guys, my phone died while we were making these. This is the first one. This is going to be the base where we'll screw it back into that main frame. I don't like the way this one turned out the way I did it, but I can't remember how exactly I started it, screwed it up. I just don't like the way this isn't overlapping well on the side. This other one I did pretty well. I like the way we did it. We started right here. Well, not here, but we started on a part of it right here with the tape, and we taped it in, and we made sure it was even on both sides so that we could lap it, bring this lip over all the way around. So I'm gonna do that on the same way on the next one, and I'll show you since my battery's been charged now. The other thing that we didn't do on this one that I did on that one is we taped along the edges here where it's frayed before we put it on. And then I realized I wanted to put the tape on after I got this on, and realized it's better to get that tape on before you even put it on. So we'll show that process too. Okay, so this is our edge piece right along here. We cut out the middle section here and the outside on this one here. So what we're gonna do is we'll put tape all along the edge there, and we'll put the tape down, we'll move that over on top of the tape, push down, and then flip the tape over so that we have a nice edge here that isn't gonna fray. I think you're gonna like that. Make sure that you put that on there, otherwise as your bioreactors get older, that just frays more and more and more. Okay, so this is how we're starting. We got our weed barrier mat piece, and what we do is we line the green line there up in the middle, and we zip tie it to where it's flush here, and then we pull on this end, and you're gonna pull on that end, and you're gonna zip tie it. And I always like to do one way and the other the other way, so that you're constantly having a difference, so that it's catching there. Anyway, once you have that done, you rotate this and flip it up. Got my buddy Cameron here to help me out. So then you pull that there, and then you make sure that this is lined up, and then you're gonna zip tie these right here, and then you're just gonna keep going around to where once you're done, it looks like this one right here. And so we have the bottom piece that's gonna go on the metal, the middle piece here, and then this one right here will be the top piece. All right, the reason why you want to pull it along the edges here as you go, it's naturally going to follow the curvature there and fill in nicely there. And if you just try to do it here and here without overlapping it, you'll have this issue like that I had, where I can't get it to go over that gap there because I pulled it too tight when I got to this one. The pros with making this type of bioreactor is it's easy to harvest out of, like you see in this other shell from last year's compost. It's really easy to harvest the compost out of there. The other pro about using these things is after we got done with this bioreactor, and then that bioreactor, and then that bioreactor, we had 3 shells done with, or we had those 3 tops done, and we were able to make this bioreactor already, which we made 7 days ago. So Caleb, I gave him the shell, and then I gave him the base, and then these 3 pieces, and told him to zip tie it together. And so my son put it all together and filled this one with his brother and put that all together. So those are the things I like, is that you can have 3 bioreactors going, and in a month, once they've broken down enough, you can take those tops off and start a whole new bioreactor with what you used from the beginning. So that's an awesome plus. And then, like I said, harvesting. Those are the 2 main benefits for building your bioreactor this way. The con, I would say, is it does take time to get these built, especially the way we did it with the lining it this way. And you can see this is the first one that we put together, because this isn't even here. And after I got them measured evenly, I love the way that these overlap and stuff. So the size with the type of weed barrier mat we have and the IBC tote, I love this method of making bioreactors. Okay, so this next bioreactor that we're going to talk about is the Kyle Schnell method. The reason I'm calling it that is because Kyle, I'm pretty sure, is the one that came up with the idea. And if somebody else wants to take credit for it, whatever, let me know. But as far as I know, this is Kyle's method, and he came up with it. So the Kyle Schnell method is basically you take an IBC tote like we see right here, and you cut, I cut the top out of this one, but then I took other lids and cut those lids up and put them in the bottom. So there's a lid from another tote that looks like this that went in the bottom of that IBC tote, so that you have kind of a floor in there. And the idea is that floor goes in there on the very bottom. So you put that in there in the very bottom of this, and then you fill it with material, you fill it full of material without going through the bath process with the pipes in there. And then you fill it full of water. Let it sit for a day, and then you drain that valve out the bottom, okay? The problem I have with it is I screwed it up. I started filling it full of water as I went, and the material started floating in there. And so it wasn't working. And I just thought, well, I'm going to do it differently. So I drained that water out so that the material would be in there. And that, notice I did it wrong. I didn't do it Kyle's way. I should have filled it all up. But anyway, instead of filling it all up and wetting it, I would just get it super wet as I went in there, knowing that I was going to have it draining out the bottom. So I got it in there super wet, let it drain for a few days, and then started, treating it like a regular Johnson Sioux bioreactor. And so it did have, gnats there in the very beginning, but that only lasted a little bit. It's not like the other ones I had that were super anaerobic. So I don't think gnats are that big of a deal as long as they don't last a long time. If they last for a while and you see gnats, persisting, most of these, this one right here didn't have gnats at all, but the rest of them have had gnats for a brief period of time, and then they went away. But anyway, the negatives I see from this is I am a little worried about how much bacteria and anaerobic conditions are getting on the very bottom, because for some reason it's just not draining all that well out there. But I talked to Kyle, and Kyle doesn't have any real issues with it. And so if you're wanting to go film quickly, this is a great way to do it. Where I've had so many go anaerobic, I just did the one because I was kind of worried about it. But so far it seems like it's working really well. This black material right here on the top is other compost that I had a ton of worms in. And so I just kind of sprinkled about around the top and let the worms kind of filtrate in there as we went. So that's why it's a little bit darker on the top. But it looks like it's making really good compost, and it smells really good. It smells really good now. It has that earthy smell to it. So I'm kind of, I was more worried about this when we started, but it looks like it's ending up going to be really good compost right now. Here's some photos that Kyle sent me of his setup and what his look like. Okay, guys, this last method is very similar to Kyle Snell's. The first step you're going to do is you're going to cut the top out of the tote, and then you're going to pull it out and drill holes in the very bottom of the tote. And then you're going to place a piece of metal that you've cut up from an old shell of the tote, and you're going to place that in the bottom of the shell from the IBC tote. So you place that in the bottom, then you put the bladder back on top after you've drilled out the holes. Okay, so we just recently filled 2 of these like this. We used straight grass clippings on one and straight wheat straw on the other, just kind of to do an experiment for temperature-wise and to see how that goes. I'll probably make another video about that. So those are the 3 methods that we have for you. Well, guys, that concludes today's video. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Next week's video, we're going to be talking about what our new process is in filling the Johnson Sioux bioreactors. Lastly, I want to give a shout out to Eric Goodell. Eric is the one who made the song for the intro of the video. So if you want to listen to more of Eric Goodell's music, go to iTunes, search Eric Goodell, or his album is called This Is What We All Know, which is the title of the song for the intro and for right now.